In the early hours of this confrontation, reports began to emerge that Hamas had launched a massive attack on Israeli forces, shifting the dynamics of an already volatile conflict. This development has captured global attention, not only because of the scale of the assault, but also because of the strategies, technologies, and sheer intensity being displayed on both sides. When looking at this situation from a detailed perspective, several key features stand out that help explain the scope of what is unfolding on the ground and in the air. One of the most striking features of this attack is the scale and coordination. Unlike smaller skirmishes or sporadic rocket fire that have characterized past escalations, this operation appears to have been prepared with extensive planning. Hamas has used multiple layers of offensive tools, including barrages of rockets aimed at Israeli cities and military installations, drones carrying explosives, and coordinated ground assaults targeting Israeli defensive positions. The simultaneous use of different attack methods highlights a strategy designed not just to overwhelm a single defensive line, but to stretch the capabilities of Israel's military response systems across multiple fronts. From a performance standpoint, the Iron Dome missile defense system has once again been put to the test. This system is designed to intercept and neutralize incoming rockets, and during this attack it has been engaged at a pace far higher than usual. Observers note that while it has managed to intercept a significant percentage of rockets, the sheer volume being launched has allowed some projectiles to slip through, causing damage and casualties. For those less familiar, the Iron Dome relies on radar tracking and guided interceptors to destroy incoming threats mid-air, and it is usually highly effective. But like any system, it has limits, and Hamas's tactic of saturation, launching hundreds of rockets at once, seeks to push those limits to the breaking point. On the design elements of the offensive, Hamas's adaptation of technology stands out. Over the years, they have evolved from firing unguided short-range projectiles to deploying rockets with extended range and improved payloads. Drones, which were once the domain of advanced militaries, have become part of their arsenal, used both for reconnaissance and for delivering small but precise explosives. In this particular attack, drones played a role not only in targeting Israeli positions, but also in gathering intelligence, giving Hamas a clearer picture of troop movements and defensive vulnerabilities. This reflects a broader trend in modern conflicts where relatively low-cost technology, when used creatively, can punch far above its weight. Unique to this attack is also the psychological dimension. The timing, the volume, and the publicity surrounding it are all part of the strategy. Hamas understands that warfare is not just about destroying targets. It is about creating a sense of vulnerability and instability. By forcing Israeli civilians into shelters and challenging the image of invincibility around Israel's defense systems, the attack aims to shift public perception. In conflicts of this kind, perception can be as impactful as battlefield results, influencing political decisions, international reactions, and civilian morale. For Israeli forces, the challenge is multi-layered. On one level, they must counter the immediate physical threat, rockets, drones, and potential infiltrations. On another, they must quickly assess the broader strategic intentions behind the assault. Is this attack meant as a short-term show of strength, or is it the beginning of a sustained campaign? Israeli intelligence and command structures are heavily engaged in piecing together these answers while simultaneously mobilizing defensive and retaliatory operations. In terms of technical details, it is important to understand the mechanics of rocket exchanges. Rockets fired from Gaza vary in range, with some capable of reaching major Israeli cities like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Each one carries an explosive payload that can damage infrastructure, vehicles, and buildings if it evades interception. Israeli counterstrikes, in turn, typically rely on precision-guided munitions delivered by aircraft and artillery, targeting what they identify as rocket launch sites, weapons depots, and command centers. The performance of these systems, the accuracy, speed, and ability to minimize collateral damage, becomes central to both sides' narratives about who holds the upper hand. Another performance aspect is troop readiness. Israeli ground forces, already positioned along the Gaza border, are tasked with both defending against incursions and preparing for the possibility of a larger-scale offensive. Hamas fighters, meanwhile, have been observed attempting cross-border infiltrations through tunnels or breaches in the security barrier. These attempts put pressure on Israeli infantry and highlight Hamas's continued reliance on guerrilla style. Tactics that are designed to offset Israel's technological superiority with surprise and close-quarters engagements. When it comes to design elements, urban warfare cannot be ignored. Gaza is one of the most densely populated areas in the world, and this shapes every military decision. For Hamas, launching attacks from within civilian areas complicates Israel's retaliation, since striking back risks collateral damage and international condemnation. For Israel, designing operations that are both effective and restrained becomes a near impossible balance. This urban environment effectively becomes a weapon in itself, shaping how battles are fought and how outcomes are interpreted. An often overlooked feature of such attacks is the role of communication networks. Hamas has developed decentralized methods of command and control to reduce the risk of losing leadership in targeted strikes. Reports suggest that they rely on underground bunkers, secure messaging systems, and field commanders who can operate independently if central communications are disrupted. On Israel's side, real-time intelligence gathering from drones, satellites, and electronic surveillance feeds into command centers where decisions are made in seconds. This constant back and forth, invisible to most observers, is one of the most crucial performance aspects of the conflict. The humanitarian dimension also plays into the overall design of this situation. Large-scale attacks inevitably displace civilians, overwhelm medical facilities, and strain emergency response systems. Hamas's strategy incorporates this reality, knowing that scenes of civilian suffering will amplify global criticism of Israel's countermeasures. Israel, in turn, emphasizes its use of warning systems and targeted strikes to limit civilian casualties, though the effectiveness and consistency of these claims remain hotly debated. The humanitarian aspect becomes not just a byproduct of conflict, but a deliberate point of leverage in the broader struggle for international support. From a broader strategic viewpoint, the uniqueness of this attack lies in how it blends old and new forms of warfare. The rockets and tunnels reflect tactics that have been used for decades, while the drones, communication strategies, and psychological warfare highlight modern innovations. The convergence of these elements creates a hybrid model of conflict that is increasingly common worldwide, where non-state actors adopt techniques once reserved for national militaries. For analysts and observers, this escalation also provides insight into the resilience and adaptability of both forces. Hamas continues to find ways to evolve despite blockades, surveillance, and repeated Israeli offensives. Israel, meanwhile, showcases its ability to mobilize defenses and retaliatory strikes at remarkable speed. Each side learns from every exchange, adjusting tactics and refining technologies for the next round. Ultimately, this attack illustrates how warfare in the modern Middle East is not confined to traditional battlefields, but spreads across cities, skies, underground tunnels, and even digital networks. Every rocket launched, every interception recorded, every drone strike carried out becomes part of a larger contest that is as much about perception and endurance as it is about immediate military gains. This complexity is what makes the situation both difficult to resolve and deeply impactful for the region and the world watching closely.